The theremin is a musical instrument that you play by moving your hands. As I move my hand closer to the antenna, the pitch gets higher. And as I move further away, it gets lower. On the other side, I control the volume. By moving my hand up, it gets louder. And it gets quieter as I move back down. To make my sound prints, what I've been using is carbon paper. Now, this carbon paper has got one side covered in carbon, and what we can do is we place it down here, and draw over the top. When we lift it off, we will get a print, a copy of our drawing. If you haven't got carbon paper, you're going to have to make your own. And this is very simple to do. All you need is a pencil and some paper. Now you can use any type of pencil. I'm using a 4B pencil. It's a bit softer than a normal HB pencil, but an HB will work fine. I'm also using quite smooth paper, so printer paper is really good for this. What we've got to do is we've got to cover an area of our piece of paper with a layer of shaded pencil. Now the best way to do this quickly is to use a long edge of the pencil. So rather than holding the pencil like that and drawing a thin line, we're going to hold it flat like that, and use this edge of the pencil to create a broader area of contact with the page. This way we can create a larger area of shading a lot quicker. In order to make it more evenly spaced out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it sideways now. I'm going to do the same shading technique going across a different direction, so perpendicular to the first set of lines. So what we end up with is quite a good layer of carbon, of pencil, on our piece of paper, and we can use this for our sound prints. So I've got my piece of homemade carbon paper, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another piece of smooth paper and I'm going to place my carbon paper pencil side down on top of my sheet of paper. Now we can create our sound print. This type of printing is called monoprinting. A monoprint is a print where we only get one print of it. Rather than having lots of possible copies of the print, we have just one impression of this. We're going to create this using our sound drawing. I'm going to have a look at some of the shapes in it. Now I'm going to put tracing paper over the top of this to protect my drawing, but you can work directly onto the drawing if you'd like to. It works just as well. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a look at some of the shapes which I find interesting here, and I'm going to draw over them. I'm going to press fairly hard. Now that I've got some of the shapes drawn on here, I'm going to repeat this pattern. I'm going to go over the top and I'm going to trace the same lines. And this time I'm not going to be too concerned about being really precise with my lines. I'm just going to try and repeat this process as fast as possible. When I remove the drawing and the carbon paper, you can see we have an impression of part of the drawing that we've done over the top. So we can repeat this process, replacing our carbon paper, and we can place our sound drawing in a different area. I'm going to use the same piece of tracing paper, and this time I'm going to find another shape in here, and this time I'm going to create a loop shape. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go round and round this loop as if it was a racing track and my pencil was a racing car. And I'm going to get faster and faster. And as we get faster and faster, it gets slightly less accurate each time, but again that's all part of this sound printing process. And then again, when we remove it, we have another impression of our sound. We can use different materials for this. Have an experiment with different things that you can use. Here I've got some coloured oil pastel, so I can place this on top. I'm going to use my other sound drawing here, and I'm going to place another piece of tracing paper on here. This time I'm going to use a biro. It works just as well as a pencil. It's worth trying out the same process with different materials to see how it affects the outcome. And you can see the colour starting to come through there. So I'm going to do one more of these over this side of it. And then when I remove the paper, you see we get the imprint coming through with it. So have an experiment with different materials that you can use, see what works best, see what you think may not work. If you have one that doesn't work, rather than just throw it away, make a note of what it is that you used and say what you don't like about it. It's always worth keeping hold of our mistakes because we can really learn from them. So have an experiment, try out the different materials and see what sort of sound prints you can make. I'm going to do one more layer on my Monoprint now. This time I'm going to draw around one of these unique shapes that we've created. And again I'm going to do a couple of times around this. But this time I'm going to use some hatching to do some shading within this shape. And I'm going to move my carbon paper over. I'm going to find one more shape. So when I remove all this, you can see we end up with a different effect as the shading fills in areas of the shapes that we traced.